Hey everyone, it's me, Pandragon Vanimar, your Dragon Cyborg from another world. In this week video, I will give you my thought and opinion of the saga Trail of Cold Steel from the Trail series. As you know, I discovered the series started Trail in the Sky last year, and now that I just finished Reverie and finally started their break, so I catch up the series. So I decided to continue giving my thought about the series. So we now at Cold Steel. So as you know, I made a thought and opinion video about the Sky and Crossbelt saga already. If you want to check that out, it's on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Be warned that in this video there will be maybe spoiler, and because it's a Saga 4 game, I will do two-part video about Cold Steel. Now that it's said, let's get started. So the Cold Steel series. A new saga began, and this time it was taking place in the Empire. One of the biggest country in Zemuria. It's also the first time game in the series that we played 3D. It was the first time that it was a 3D for Trail. So it was something new for the series. And in this opus, you would not play Bracer, a police member, but this time you're a student from a military academy. Basically, the main character, which is Rain, and its class 7, are a group of common students mixed with noble students. So basically, the school normally student, a common people, and noble are separated, but they want to try something new, so they created class 7. But there is something else behind this, but you learn that later in the story. And basically each month, this is something special with their class. Each month, they will go on a trip to doing a main mission. They have the Empire and side quests and all these stuff. I would say I wasn't a big fan of the school thing at all. Each part where you were on a trip, it was already running, no, when you're not on a trip, sorry. When you're not on a trip, it was already running around school, doing jobs that the student council Towa gave you. But just running around, talk to the student and all these stuff. And then exploring old schoolhouse. By the way, the same thing, you did a trip, then when you come back from the school trip, oh, you do some stupid side quest, then you go to the old schoolhouse again. So it wasn't really that interesting for me. That wasn't interesting at all, I would say. I think it was the most boring part of the game. Reminded me a lot of Janus Academy chapter 2 in the Trail of the Sky, which really made me quit the game. I would say it was even bad. No. Janus Academy, I would say it was a little better. As for the story part, which happened during the school trip mostly, it was okay, but not that amazing. If I have to compare them from the previous Trail games, I didn't like the world trip thing and the way it worked. The fact that class 7 were never into a full group 2, except 2 times, I think, was something I didn't like either. I would have liked that you could choose with which character you go on the trip or whatever. But yeah, it was a little bad at this way. Because it's like, oh, I wanted to level Laura, for example. But oh, she's locked for the next trip. So I cannot play her. So I didn't like that way it worked. Also, it took some time before knowing what the real plot was about the terrorists. And the noble planning to take over the Empire. Speaking of the terrorists, I don't think they were a great enemy, to be honest. If you compare them for like the Enforcer or Phantasma, Maria Bell, Garcia, or Randy Uncle, sorry I don't remember his name. I mean, these guys were something, but the terrorists, for me, they are nothing. One of the dude is basically just a random NPC that died in Crossbelt arc. So, because it's taking place during Crossbelt. So, you see a guy that is a terrorist, and later, well, he's dead. But it's just a random NPC measure. So, for me, they were the worst main enemy of the series so far. Aside C, when you learn that he is Crow. Overall, I didn't like the plot too much. But I was really happy though they mentioned Crossbell during the story. And they were making a link between the two. Which basically the event of the two, as I said earlier, were taking place at the same time. Another good reason why it's a good thing playing the game in order. Someone who didn't play the Crossbelt saga would probably be confused and not totally understand what's going on. That was at least an interesting part of the story. Even if the rest wasn't that great, I really loved the plot twist at the end when the Chancellor got shot. Crow revealed himself as C. A bigger ship fly over the city. And a new Anguish Ouroboros revealed herself. Then to save Reen, his friend protected him, so he couldn't run away, and the game just ends like this, without knowing what would happen to all of them. I love that ending, and the one thing that I didn't like though was the final boss, Crow, which I think was the worst. It wasn't a great final boss, no. I mean, why? They should have do something better. Even the Sky reshard was more interesting than that. Talking about the zone, I think most part of the region of the Empire we visit were especially in the north were really amazing. That latter had amazing landscape. And the fact that we were able to mount a horse to run around, I really liked that. It gave the vibe of a small open world. Then there is the capital, which remind me a lot of New York, urban New York with a tramway and a car in the road. But what made me like the city was the fact there were dark catacombs under it. These catacombs were my favorite dungeon of the game. Probably maybe because we kill out the dragon in there. And there is also the last dungeon of the game. That it was also fun. Especially when you meet Valimar for the first time. The other dungeon for me, but not too great though, not that much. Now let's talk about the second game. Tale of Cold Steel 2. Where we are now in the middle of a civil war. Against the Empire. And the Noble. After the Chancellor dead by the terrorists. The Empire was now in chaos. And Class 7 were scattered everywhere. While Reen wake up alone in the middle of nowhere. I think it was a great way to start a game sequel. Then for at least the good part of the game, you try to find your friend back to see if they're alright, of course. Then you help the Empire to stop the Noble. There were no boring school stuff this time. Instead, what was different is you have different hubs, which were more interesting than the school in general. Like Ymir, I think, was a nice and cozy hideout. And then we have on our own A-ship, thanks to the best Oliver. So this time, your reason of going out in a place, it's not because you're a stupid thrill trip. You're going in a place to save people. Find friends and all these stuff. Compared to the first, the story of the second one was so much better. And you learned so much more. about Erebonia. Their past dark history, the tragic event, I mean, sorry, that happened in the Divine Night, for example, which were pretty more interesting story than the first one. Which is the first one, you don't learn that much. We also have way much action in the story than the previous one. There were more sad and dark moments because it takes place in the middle of a war. At least in my opinion. I don't even think there was something really dark in the first game, if I remember. The catacomb, maybe? No, that wasn't that dark. The story also introduced us to more interesting enemy than just Crow and his two terrorists. Which, aside Crow, the two other... No, not really. There were Robots came back, and when they were here, I think each time the Robots are here, the story with them is always interesting. Some familiar face were there, like Blobla and Duvali. And we had a new Anguish, Vita. And we met one new Enforcer, which will become one of my favorite, I would say, McBurn. Which I would say, yeah, as he has something. And his story about him became really interesting after the end of Cold Steel. But that would be for another time. Overall, the story was so much better. I was so much into that game. To the point I got really mad when the US father destroyed an entire village and killed someone. I was so into the game, I was mad as fuck. That's kind of funny when I think about it. Speaking of character, it was really interesting to see how Class 7 evolved during this dark time. And how the war changed them. This is really during the second game that I began to like the member of Class 7 entirely. For example, are Elisa and Macias, which I hated a lot in Cold Steel 1. But after the two, my opinion about them were different. The same apply with Emma, because now we know she's a witch, and so began to use her magic a little more without adding it. Hard to believe that I first thought Emma was a boring character. Another thing I liked about Class 7 is now that they all have their own outfit, so they are different, and more unique. Something I liked the first game, they were all dressed with their school uniform. At least now they have different outfits, they not look the same. Now about the zone. Even if most part of the Empire was mostly the same as the first game, we were now able to, in the second half part of the game, to explore all places in the Empire. At least the east side. And you can use a mount. It's an addition that I was really happy to see in that sequel. It have way much more liberty for the side quests and the quest exploration in general. Also, the dungeon were so much fun, especially the last one, the Infernal Fortress. Won't talk about the Reverie, the Falls Reverie corridor after the Infernal Palace. I don't count this one as a dungeon, because I think it was boring. So, this time at least, the end boss was more interesting, cool to fight and just crawl, like the end of Cold Steel 1. Overall, the second game was so much better. And it's finished with an amazing plot twist. With Crow death and the Chancellor's Born reveal to read that he is his father. Also, we had a little surprise with a chapter about Lord Enrich at the end, which I was feeling so nostalgic when that happened. It was really interesting to see this. Lastly, I will talk briefly about the gameplay. For me, it's not that much different from older game. For the Battle or Hourman, I mean. I would say just an upgrade version of all of this. The only thing really new, then again, my memories maybe, was that I know it's been a while since I played a Gold Seal. Well, this summer. But I think what I really was new in the gameplay was the link attack and break damage, which I think were a great addition in my opinion. I would say the battle were sometimes really slow though, but at least we have turbo mode. They also introduced Divine Knight battle in the second game, which basically was mecha fight. I think was cool and interesting playstyle. Another thing they changed is that now side quests are shown on the map, which really help to know where you're going. So it's really saving time, and you were certain you don't miss anything. And I won't talk about the game card. Wasn't that interesting. When I would talk about Cold Steel 3 and 4 though, now I would say that game card was interesting. But we're not talking about these two games right now. So for the gameplay of Cold Steel 1 and 2, I don't think I have anything else to say. So that's it for me, guys. That was my thought about the Trail Cold Steel 1 and 2. Next time, the video would be about the rest of the saga, Cold Steel 3 and 4. So what is your thought about these two Cold Steel? Is there something else you would like to add? Well, feel free to leave a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my video, game talk, short, highlight, or even streaming. Which, by the way, is streaming on this channel and on Twitch. So watch me whatever you want to watch me if you're interested. I play most of the time RPG, JRPG. And right now the Trail series. As for other social media, the link is in the description. So thank you all for watching. And see you around. And Dragons offline.